Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. This is episode 3 of building the 32 Ford Roadster Body. This episode we're going to assemble the doors and hang the doors on the cowl. The starting point for hanging the doors is actually getting the hinges set up. So the hinges as we get them, and I think even when you buy them not as seconds, they come basically as 2 bronze pieces. Sometimes you've got to trim the inside a little bit, but you've got to drill and tap your own holes. So what I've done with all the other cars, you want that line to be as straight as possible. So I just basically use a piece of threaded rod, tighten it up between the 2 hinges, and then the hinges actually just get set inside and clamped in place. So right now, like I said, the first step is basically to assemble the hinges first. There are 3 screws that go into each hinge, and it consists of it is a 5/16 24 threaded screw with a tiny head onto it. These are the ones that reproduction Ford ones. What I've done in the past, though, quite a bit, is I've actually taken these machine screws with the hex holes into them. I've ground them down until they're to the same size as the head on the original screws, and then just taken a mini grinder and then put a slot into it so that the actual screws don't work as screws. But in this case here today, we've got the right screws with the washers. So I'll start by probably drilling the first hole here and here, and then I'm actually going to tap it right on with my tap. I'm going to tap it right on the car, and then there's a big countersink that I'll put in here with this countersink tool so that this washer right there will actually fit into the hole. Once that's set in place, then I'll do the 2 back holes, and then I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So we'll carry on with this. Like I said, there'll be a couple steps to it. Hinges, then we have to assemble the doors. Most of these don't have any of the holes drilled for the latches or for the handle, so I'll have to do that. I'll get that ready. And then I'll assemble the door skins on the doors, and then assemble the doors on the hinges and adjust them and weld them in place. So watch along as we put the doors together and the different steps. So here we are the next day. Last night I worked on the hinges and the door, and I forgot to go get the camera lady. So I'm going to cover a few things here with regards to the door. What I did, as I said before, I get a little echo going there with the door. I drilled and tapped these holes for the hinges. It's 5/16 24. They're all installed now. Like I said, I clamped them and I held them in place, and then drilled the holes, tapped the holes, and then chamfered them, and then put the screws in. Next thing I proceeded to do is actually put the doors together. Like I've said, every part that I have is seconds. So one of the things that we've got to do, or I had to do, was the latch mechanism, which goes in here. None of the holes were drilled or tapped for it. Fortunately, the holes up here for the handle, they were drilled and tapped, and they're accessed through this hole here and a screwdriver. And then there's this little piece here that goes between it. We'll cover that later, but the video here now is basically fixing the holes up, drilling and tapping these holes here. I did 1032 screws. You can do 1024. It's quite common on Fords to have 1024 threads, or even a more uncommon one is 1224. I've had them that size before, but it's hard to get screws. So quite common to get 1032 screws. So that's what I'm using on this one. In the event that you make these holes too big, you can weld them back up and re-drill them, or put nutserts in the place, like it's a little insert that you put in the hole and it's got a threaded hole into it. over behind the camera lady here, I'm getting ready to put another one of the door skins on. I don't know how long she'll stay here with the noise, but this door skin here, the inner door skin, over here where the latch mechanism gets drilled and tapped. The reason why it was second because they put the reinforcing pieces on the outside, so I had to basically clean those off, weld them up, and put like little metal reinforcing plates from behind, and then drill and tap those same holes for the latch mechanism. The other thing you have to do is the inner door skins, when they fit inside of the outer door skin, you've got to trim them where they laser weld them or laser cut them so that they fit in there nice. Then in order to put the skin on, it's really straightforward. You got to position the inner door skin inside, put a set of vice grips up top here to hold it, and there, and on each one of these corners, put another set of vice grips on. Like I said, I'll do some of this with the camera lady here, but it's quite loud. The other thing I like to do is just clean my hammers. Make sure the faces are smooth as possible, because if you use these hammers for other things than body work, which I unfortunately sometimes do, you have dents into them, that'll transfer to the metal. So this is actually a door skin hammer, so I'll be using that towards the end to hammer in here. But to start everything off, what I'm going to do is you basically start and you don't hammer the whole thing all the way. So it's just, you're just going to bring it a little bit all the way around. Your vice grips might pop off from the whacking, but you just have to put them back on again. Like I said, don't try and do the whole thing. Just work your way around slowly, all the way around, a little bit at a time. Nope, there goes one vice grip. It's not a brand name vice grip, so it pops off. So again, I'm just going to repeat this, and I'm going to keep on going all the way around until so up here I'm starting to roll it a little further. I'll keep doing that. I'll keep going. So I guess for the purposes of the video, so at some point I'm going to have that rolled over more, and then I'm going to use the, I'll put a dolly in behind it. Somewhere I had a dolly. There we go. So I'm going to keep rolling that, and then what'll happen, I'll put the dolly in behind it, and I'll slowly work my way around several passes. That's what the door skinning hammer is for, because you can actually come in here and you can come straight down onto it, as opposed to interfering. So I'm going to carry on with that, work my way around. You can see over on the other door here, it's all hammered over. Now what some people will do is they'll actually put a little tack weld at intervals here so that the door doesn't move, because sometimes you can't really put too much pressure when you roll that edge over to hold the inner and the outer door skin on. Our 32 over there, we just put a spot weld every 6 inches all the way around. Once the door alignment is good, and you're happy with it, then go back and then basically tack weld it in place. So I'm going to carry on with that. I'll put the other door in the other side, and we'll check back with you later. Hi, so here we are. We should have inserted a little time-lapse video of me drilling and tapping these holes for the hinges. After I did that, I fit the doors, and come to find out I had seconds and the door was actually sitting too low. So I had to take the hinges back out and then weld the holes back up. Now, if you're going to weld the holes back up, it usually puts a blob on the back. So what I had to do was take a piece of, I've got a heavy piece of copper here. I inserted that in behind, and then I welded the holes up and then ground them smooth. Then basically moved my hinges another 1/4 of an inch up. And again, I've done 5. This is the 5th 32 I've done put together this way. First one that I ever had the hinges, actually the holes sit too low and the doors wouldn't shut. Anyways, it is what it is. You've got to make a mistake, recover from it, find a way to fix it. Like I said, Probably a lot of you know already that weld won't stick to a piece of copper. That's probably worth quite a bit of money right now, but essentially put that behind where you're welding, and then it'll be smooth on the back of the weld. And again, I just re-drilled the holes. Right now, what I'm doing is actually fitting these doors. So these doors I put on, and then I move them up and down and in and out. And right here, if the camera lady would zoom in, what I did, I positioned them and I marked them outside, then I clamped them in place, and then I just drilled and just stuck this little rivet like in the hole right there. There's one on the bottom. Just to position it so that I can then drill and tap the holes. So right now what I'm doing is I am drilling and tapping the holes. I've got 4 of the holes drilled. I've got 1 screw in. The screws we're using, we're making do with what we've got. So what I'm doing is I don't have the exact screws, but I've got these super long ones that I happen to pick up that have got the right head on them. So I'm just going to cut them off, chamfer them, and I leave a bolt on it so that I can back the screw out, and then that way the thread on the end, when I cut them off, will thread back in. And then I chamfer this tip and I just run it through a tap or a die here on the bench to clean it up. So I'm going to carry on with that. I've got 5 more to do on this side, and then I have to do all 6 on the other door here, and then we'll carry on. So here we are. I now have both of the doors all drilled and tapped. A few things I had to do, like just a few minutes ago, like I explained, I've got the 3 screws in each door. Got that sorted out, and then I was at the stage where I've got to align the doors to the opening. So that was a combination of clamping down here on the A-pillar, either twisting the A-pillar, pushing the A-pillar in and around, essentially so that when I close the door, I've got an even gap across the bottom and everything's all lined up. So that's how I've got that done on both sides. There's another section in here where you kind of have to do an ugly weld to, there's 2 tabs here that are inside the door skins. They're probably riveted on the originals, but when you look at the Brookvilles, they do the same. This is what we do. Basically clamp the tab once everything is in place and then weld it. It's like a little reinforcing thing for the door hinge. So you can see over here, same thing. The A-pillar right here, this reinforcing tab, I clamped it down, adjusted it forward, back, until I got basically an alignment on the door, and then tack welded everything in place. So now my A-pillar is in place. The 2 doors are on. I just picked up the dash from the customer there. So the dash will be on another episode. As I showed you when we put the cowl in, these little pieces here that were so much fun to fit, they basically fit on the inside, and there's screws that go up through here. I'll cover the dash later. That's the episode 3. Episode 3 of installing the doors and assembling the doors. Hopefully you enjoyed it. There's more to come. We'll start working on the back half of the car. Our goal right now is to publish these videos every Thursday at 4 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time. So this is for this week, and we'll put something together for a week from now too. Hope you enjoyed. Everybody take care, and have a good one.